Sadnam aloha, everyone. Welcome to the live stream today. And before we get started, just a reminder that if you've ordered one of my readings for 50% off, if you haven't received it in 3-4 days, contact me. That means there's something up with your email server, and I'll send that out to you right away. Okay, so if you haven't received it within 3-4 days, that means that there's something up, because I usually get them out that soon. And what else did I want to announce? Let's go into the chart. So if you could put your name and where you're logging in from, that would be great. And let's see, yeah. So we're at the chart. Up here. Oh, the other thing I wanted to announce was I'm going to have a live program starting on September 11th until October 30th. And this is 7 Steps to Dilute the Ego program. So, you know, if you've attended, I used to do live programs all the time. I took about a year off of them. But my intuition is kept saying you need to gather people in these programs. So, what do I want to say about this? I'm just getting the text and everything together. I just wanted to put it out there and let people know. So September 11th, so it'll be on Sundays around 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that should be able to serve the needs of the people over in the UK and the West Coast, of course, and then the East Coast of the US, and then Australia too should be okay with that time. So basically, you know, for the Aquarian age, the time that we're in right now, we're all going through the dark night of the soul. We all have to go through the dark night of the soul, and that's this, right? Where we have to enter into this emotional body, right? Without the ego. So it's an ego death, actually, is what we go through with the dark night of the soul. And we're all tested in this way. And it's a test of our faith and our commitment in the divine. So we're all going through it. So this is a way to be proactive with this program. That's the intention. So I'll be teaching everything that I've learned over all of these years about the ego. And that's my main tools are human design, of course, the gene keys, Kundalini yoga meditation, Course in Miracles, and psychology of vision. Those are my big tools for the ego. And so this will take you step by step by step through this dark night of the soul. And it's going to include Kundalini yoga meditations. So you'll have a sadhana to do every day. There'll be group meetings. So there'll be an interaction with me. If you've been through a live program, you know what that's like, where we look at your chart. We look at whatever blocks you're in. And plus there'll be breakout sessions too. So you'll be able to connect with other people in the program. Anyway, I'm going to have all that text up early next week, so I'll announce it by the next live stream. And if you're on my newsletter list, you're going to have all that information. Of course, I'll have an early bird special. Okay, so keep that in mind. So this is the year to do it, right? Just to get on board and go with the energy. And this is where the energy is taking us. Okay, so let's look at this new moon here. That's on August 26, 2022. And so it's in the shadow of dishonesty, and it's the gift of intimacy and transparency. So that's that 59 that you can see there. And so the first thing I want to say about this 59 is this is a huge deal. This gate. So this is the human design chart. So if you don't have your human design chart, go to jovionarchive.com and get your free chart. And then you'll know, it will show you what your aura type is, and you're going to receive a chart similar to this, but there's also the unconscious side for the natal charts. This is a transit chart, so it's all black. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into that, but if you follow my channel, you're going to understand human design more and more. So this 55, like this channel is all about evolution, right? We're evolving as a species, as a humanity. We're evolving for this great shift of the ages into the Aquarian age, and all of our ways of being are changing. Everything is changing drastically, especially we're going to see more and more change and more intensity of change, especially coming up to 2027. So that's what my program's about too. It's about preparing us for 2027. That's a big marker. It's right there with 1987, the harmonic convergence, and then 2012, and then 2027 is the next big marker. So 59 has a big part to play, and you can see it right here. It's coming off the sacral. That's the sacral, the life force energy here. 59. This has a big part to play in the evolution. So it's going through a mutation. In all of these hexagrams, they correlate to our DNA. There's 64 codons, right, in our DNA, and there's 64 hexagrams in the I Ching. There's a correlation to that. So this is like, it's a big deal, the 59. So the 59 is connected to the 55. Those are programming partners. So you can see up here the sun. This is why it's the new moon, right? Because the sun and the moon are conjunct, right? Both in the 59. And then the programming partner is the opposite. It's always the opposite. This is the earth position, the cross. We use the earth in human design. So 59 and 55 are programming partners. So 55 is going through a huge mutation. This is the shadow of victim. It's the gift of freedom, right? And of course, it's going to affect its programming partner, which is 59. So the 59-6, now if these two joined up, right, they would make a channel, and then these would be colored in. Okay? So the 59-6, that's the channel of mating. The channel of mating. So this is all about our sexuality. It's all about reproductive system, 59-6. And what do I want to say about that? I got lost track there. The way that we come together in relationships, right? The 59 is all about how we relate in relationships. So this is drastically changing because our sexual desires, the old way is coming together through sexual desire, humans, to procreate. It's a biological urge, desire to procreate. Well, that's going to change. We're not going to come together for those reasons anymore. Our sexual desire is going to mutate into something higher. So we're going to be coming together for spiritual reasons, right? This whole evolution that we're going through is really about coming into this spiritual awareness, right? On this other side here, right? Is coming into the spirit awareness. This is what we're evolving into. And so, of course, the ways that we come together is going to change, right? We're going to be coming together in higher consciousness. And these are these new Aquarian relationships. And this is the enlightenment is 2 by 2. It's no longer 1 by 1, right? So this is the new spiritual path, which I talked about, is relationships, conscious relationships. This is sacred marriage, right? Sacred marriage, this 59. So that's exciting, and it's a huge marker because it's the new moon in 59, and we're in the year of relationships, right? The 2022, and there's lots of the twin flames coming together, the soulmates coming together, and a lot of the karmic relationships are coming to an end. We're closing out that cycle. The ones that are destined, to walk that path. So the thing is, right, before we incarnate, we sign contracts before we incarnate. And it's like, okay, I'm going to meet you, my soulmate, my twin flame, this year in this place. And this is when we come together in union, and then we walk this path. This is all part of the mutation and the raising of the frequency of the planet. And it's really about preparing for these new humans to come in after 2027. They're going to already come in with this solar plexus mutation that I talked about. Okay. And so they're not going to be operating from where's my chart here? They're not going to operate, right, from this mental awareness system that we are in now. This is our awareness system has evolved from just a primarily physical awareness system to keep the body alive, survival, and then into this mental where we're experiencing life through the mind, and then into this spirit awareness, right? That's the solar plexus mutation over here. So this is really, these new children are not going to be coming in with this mental awareness. So what does that mean? They're not going to be prone to conditioning, right? We're completely conditioned as humanity through our minds, indoctrination school, elementary school, junior high, high school, and then you get your PhD in indoctrination. That's all happening through the mental body, right? Those children are not going to have that. They're not going to be manipulated like we were, right? So you can imagine how our society is going to change, and then coming together for different reasons. And that's also about population. Our populations just is going to drastically go down anyway, because we're not coming together for those reasons, That's why I laugh at these negative forces. It's like, what are you doing that you're trying to control evolution? Evolution's going to, completely, nature takes care of, if anything, any species is overpopulated. Nature takes care of it all, right? Evolution takes care of it all, without any interference from us wee little humans. So, okay. Just let me get, okay, there we go. Okay. I just want to fix this up. There we go. Okay, so let's go into the shadow more. Okay. We'll go into the shadow more of this 59 here. And we'll go to kind of the symptoms. Okay, well, let's just take a look at the chart here briefly. And I'll have another live stream on Tuesday, and it will be going through the zodiac signs, so I'll go deeper. It's a good idea for you to watch these live streams, like on Saturdays and Tuesdays. Seems to be my rhythm, because you're going to learn a lot, right? And it's this understanding. Speaking of understanding, I'm feeling, yeah, I knew it. I can feel when these certain gates are activated, and Venus is in the 4, right? And the 4th gate up here off the Ajna, it's the gift of understanding. The thing is, when we understand, I'm a projector, a 2-4 emotional projector. So I'm here to help guide the other types, the other 4 human design types, as well as other projectors too that need some guidance, to give context, right? Understanding. And then it's when you start to look at life through this frame, because human design is really about this time that we're in right now and the coming future, and how we operate is once you have that context, right, and you're seeing through that frame, then everything starts to make sense, and you can just relax and just be yourself, right? So this is Venus is here in the gift of understanding and forgiveness, right? Forgiveness. What else did I want to say about this? Maybe on Tuesday I'll go a little bit deeper into the other aspects, because this is for August 26th. Yeah, let's go right into the shadow. So, as you know, Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings, he represents the ego in my world, and that's that voice in your head that you think is you, it sounds like you, it's like so familiar because it's been right there since you were young, right, a young person. And most people on the planet believe that they're this ego. Probably 70%, more than 70% of these people believe that they're their ego. And so they're basically just channeling the ego. And this is what's being diluted for this new age of Aquarius, so that we can move into this, spirit awareness, right? So we can move into that space. So we really, like I said, we have to get used to living in these new states of consciousness, which is without ego, right? So this is the gap that I talk about, that we need to, this is what meditation gives you, is the gap between, like, you realize that you're in relationship to your ego, you're in relationship to your mind, and not to be a victim, right? And why we're victim, and remember, this is the 55, right? That 55 is going through the huge mutation. We're going to realize that we're not a victim. This thing, this ego, this entity inside of us in our head is tricking us. This is the victimization. The ego is telling you that you're a victim, but you're not. It's just a mental prison that you've built for yourself. The ego is built for you, and you believe it's true, right? Without ego, there's no limit. Ego goes, right? Limit goes, right? That's how it is. So when you're in that state, like, remind yourself. It's all about remembering. The spiritual path is all about amnesia. Like, that's the biggest problem that we have. We forget who we are. We forget our power. And we forget, oh, that voice in my head, that's not me. Most people get victimized by that voice in their head, and they react to it, and they make their decisions from it, and they're suffering, and they're wondering why they're suffering, and the ego is telling them to blame everybody else, right? Why they're suffering. And it's you're causing your own suffering by listening to that ego. This is you. You're huge compared to this little tiny ego, right? So it should be a trigger for you now. If you've been watching my channel, oh, I'm in my ego now. I need to get out of this state of consciousness, and you're responsible for your state of consciousness. This is what it means to be a spiritual adult, is to grow up. It's time for us to grow up, right? And lots of people around you will encourage you to not grow up because they want you to be in victim, right? Misery loves company. They want you suffering along with them. But you have to, and that means sometimes walking away from the status quo for a while. Be a community of one. Be by yourself so that you can start to listen to this little voice, right? This voice starts to speak, and this is your intuition, right? So my program, I'm going to go totally into that, like deep into like the discernment between the intuition and your ego. Right? And then some good tools too. So this is what we're heading into, right? The spirit awareness. But it comes with pain, right? And the pain is facing your shadow and your fears. And this is all about this. Okay, so let's look at when you're in your shadow. This is how the shadow starts to talk. Remember, shadow and ego work in tandem. So a deep distrust of other people. This is the shadow. It's not personal, right? This is coming from our ancestors. It's why we're dishonest. Deep distrust of other people. Feel lonely even when you're surrounded by people. You know that? That's like the loneliest. I love that quote. I put it up last week, I think, by Carl Jung. He's like the pioneer of the shadow. Is loneliness isn't the absence of people. Loneliness is when you can't talk about things that are important to you, right? So you're entering your spiritual path, and you're like really embracing the healing that you're doing and all this inner work you're doing, but you're surrounded by other people that are materialists. And it's like, what? Who cares? Like, let's go out for drinks, right? Let's gossip about other people. That can be like the most loneliest time, right? When you're not able to talk about things that are really, really important to you, or if you're a parent, right? Like, let's say if you're a parent and you can't talk about parenting and what your child is up to, and wow, my baby took his first steps today, and you're all excited, and you're surrounded by all these single people that are like, yeah, whatever, right? Who cares? That can be lonely. So this makes us dishonest. Remember, keep this shadow in your mind here. Dishonest. Okay. I just want to make sure everybody can See this? There we go. So don't communicate with other people in any real depth, right? Keeping it on the surface, superficial. Or nice day if it don't rain. Yeah, nice day if it don't rain. Don't communicate with others, yeah, in any real depth. Keep things about yourself hidden from others, right? So that they'll be interested in you. So the fear here is relationships. And so these are like different gendered relationships. So what the 59 shadow is, it makes us fearful of each other, right? The opposite gender, it makes us fearful of the opposite gender because it's about, here, I'll bring up this other one here, right? It's fear of opposite gender because it's attraction, right? So we fear what we're attracted to, right? So there's this pull in relationships with opposite gender, right? There's this pull towards one another, but also there's this fear of one another. It's the paradox. What you're attracted to is also what you're fearful of. So this can make you dishonest. Oh, I want that person to be, you know, you see this with the sheep relationships, right? The sheep relationships are all in shadow. Oh, I got to keep my cards close to my chest because I can't reveal too much about myself. I got to keep that little mystery, right? It's very manipulative. It's so ego driven, right? Those games. And this is what the ego is telling you, right? Don't tell him too much. Don't tell her too much. She'll get bored of you and drop you like a hot potato. It's all based in insecurity, right? But it's this fear. It's this fear. Blaming others when you feel excluded, right? That's also the shadow. Or excluding yourself, right? Or dominating relationships to avoid rejection. So it's about this avoidance of rejection, right? So you can't fire me, I quit. That kind of mentality. You can't reject me if I reject you first. More ego games. And won't stay with anyone who's honest or challenges you, right? So challenging you is these are the new relationships, right? Challenging you in higher consciousness, right? Why do you think that way? Why do you behave that way? Things like that. You want a mirror like that, not a mirror that's projecting on you, projecting their bullshit on you, right? You want somebody that's going to challenge you, right? In that way. I know you're better than this. Why are you doing this? Oh, I've noticed that you're indulging in addictions more than usual, like things like that. So somebody that cares about you, but cares about your higher consciousness, not what you can do for them, right? Not how they can exploit you, but because they want you to rise in consciousness and vice versa, right? So the shadow is like, don't stay with that person. Stay here with me and victim, right? Let's trauma bond, right? Let's be in our victim. Let's be in our karmic relationship that we've been in for lifetimes after lifetimes, right? All of this is the shadow that we're letting go of. So the real fear here too, because we're being pulled together as a polarity, the male polarity, the female polarity, the gender, right? The opposite genders together, so that we can release these traumas that are already inside each one of us, okay? And they're, let me see. I thought I downloaded that image. Just a second, you guys. But I'll keep talking here. So these traumas that that get released because we're coming together in love, unconditional love, right? With this 59, this gift. And of course, it's going to bring up stuff, right? So it's going to bring up what needs to be released. And these are these traumas. And the traumas come from right here. Just a sec, I gotta get out of this before it crashes on me. Okay, force quit, yes. Right here. From childhood. The traumas come from childhood. So of course there's fear there, because who wants to open that up, right? That Pandora's box of wounding from your childhood. And that's what these relationships bring up, right? Okay, there it is. There it is. Okay. Yes, just downloading it now. Okay, there we go. Okay, so trauma. This is the fear from this shadow, because this is what starts to come up, right? So these are our childhood wounds, because I feel like a broken record, but the universe, my intuition keeps saying be a broken record, right? So we're evolving through the solar plexus mutation. We can see it here, right? The solar plexus mutation is happening here. So this is the solar plexus, everybody, and this is on the human design chart here, right? The ajna is up here, the mental awareness system, and then this emotional awareness system. So we've got to move through, we're purifying, right, for our evolution, our emotional body. And a lot of different paths are saying the same thing. It's all about the emotions now that we have to embrace to get to the solar plexus mutation. This will start to mutate. And it's already the 55, the new moon, and the 59, and then the sun in the 55 is showing us. This is a marker. It's like a trigger point where the solar plexus is starting to mutate now. Right, and we're seeing it with the solar flares last week. People are getting more and more emotional. They can't handle it anymore. That's why these relationships are ending, because you can't play these stupid roles that you've been playing forever, that your mother played, that your grandmother played, that your father, your grandfather played. Keep the peace, stay for the kids, all the conditioning. Can't do it anymore. People are like, no, I can't. I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like I'm going to die if I stay in this situation, because you're being called to grow. You're being called to expand. You can't stay in this little suit anymore. Imagine if you were a child and you're growing up, fast you can grow up, adolescence to teenager, and you're still trying to put on your clothes that you wore when you were 10 years old. And you're 16. It's not going to work. Well, it's the same thing with our energy. And people are like, no, I want to put this 7-year-old clothes on. I want to stay here like little babies. I want to stay here. I don't want to grow up. And guess what? We're being called to grow up. And this is moving through this emotional awareness, right? Our emotional body is getting so pressurized right now. And people are like, I just want to say, are you stupid? Like, I just want to scream that at the top of my lungs, why people are not changing. It's like you're being called. Like, how many more clues and signs do you need? Do you need to be like run off to the hospital in some kind of emergency before you finally get it and wake up and say, oh, I've got to change, right? This is where people are right now. So it's just going to get more and more and more pressurized, right? And it's just our lesson too, right? If you're a helper bee, you know what I'm talking about. This frustration. It's like we're sitting here watching this train, these two trains coming together, and you can see the crash is coming. It's coming really, really soon. The tower moment, right? In tarot, like how many tower moments do you need before you wake up and you finally get the clue? Oh, maybe the universe is calling me to change, right? Maybe I'll get that insight, or maybe not. Why we're either dying our life or living our life, This is not the time to be digging in your heels. We're still in this gift of commitment that I talked about in my last video. You know, it's time to commit now to your spiritual journey. It's time to commit to this, your heart and your intuition, and stop committing to this, you know, this ego. People are so committed to their ego and not their soul. And it's just causing more and more and more suffering, you know? Like I said, a lot of people in terms of their relationships, they're married to their egos. They're not married to their souls, right? So it's time to like get real now, you know? The time is ticking now, right? The expiry date is coming. The doors are closing because people have to choose. They're choosing. I talked about this. We're in a choice point, right? Right here. Are we going to go to this tunnel? Are we going to go through this tunnel to spirit awareness, or are we going to go back to this, to the ego? So in terms of tests, in terms of relationships and tests, I just want to remind people what happens on the spiritual journey. We get tested. It's like, oh, our commitment gets tested. This is our character. Remember, I talked about the 7 steps to happiness. Our character gets tested because we have to be consistent with our commitment. It's not just like, oh, I'm Michael, I'm committed to my spiritual journey. Well, the universe will say, okay, she said she's committed to her spiritual journey, but let's test her, right? Because you need to have the experience of that commitment. So what happens is like, yes, I'm moving to my spiritual journey. I'm leaving this karmic relationship. I'm moving towards my soulmate. My intuition's been screaming at me through my dreams, through my intuition, through signs out there that I need to leave, right? And I need to go towards this new relationship. Like, let's use that as an example. So it's like, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And you start walking towards that other person, right? And it looks good. You know, and you're feeling happy, you're letting go of your addictions, you're not drinking anymore, you're not hanging out with those, you know, victim friends anymore, you're really doing your inner work, and then suddenly you got the call just when you're about to go meet this go towards your destiny, basically. You'll get the call, right, from the karmic person. It's like, oh, I know I've really changed. Right? I really changed. We can make it work this time. I'm really embracing my spirituality. I've stopped drinking. I've stopped cheating and womanizing or whatever I've been doing. And suddenly he becomes the perfect, like the glamoring, right? It's the glamoring. I'm the perfect partner now for you. And then will you fall for it, or will you keep committed to your spiritual journey, right? And so this is the test. Right? Are you going to listen to this? Because this is all about the ego. It's really about the ego, right? And then it gets manifested out there on the external world as your test. So you got to watch this. I've experienced this in my own thing, like committing to my spiritual journey. And, you know, I would be the last time I had a JOB, and I had these, trainings, metaphysical trainings that I would go to in the evenings. These classes were very impactful. Like, I would change so much from attending, and they were very healing, right? So I'd have to leave at 5:00 so that I could get on the subway and make it there on time, right? And I was committed, and was always like at 4:30, some kind of emergency would happen, right? Somebody would be running in my office with some emergency. Because that was my thing, right? Is to wherever your weakness is. It's like, only I can help. Only I can make this right? Until I got it, it's like, this is my test, right? This is your test. And so I got really, really good at it. And it was like, no, I'm committed to, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Is there somebody under the bus bleeding? No. Well, then it's not an emergency for me, right? I can't make your lack of planning, it doesn't make it an emergency for me. Sorry, right? I'll see what I can do for you tomorrow, and then just leave. Like, we get tested on our boundaries and our commitment. So just keep that in mind, because this always happens, right? Is that karmic person going to pull you back into the matrix, right? Keep you there and then keep you from evolving, right? You make a contract in this lifetime that you were going to evolve, you were going to grow, and you were going to transcend, and you were going to heal all these ancestral patterns, these wounds in this lifetime. So it's like, keep your commitment. Go back to your commitment before you incarnate it. Just set the prayer out. What was my commitment? What was my soul contract? You're going to feel it. It's like, yes, I'm not going to be tempted. These are the temptations that we get on the path, right? And it always involves relationships and money. Relationships and money. Those are our big tests. So, did I go through the shadow patterns here? Yeah. So dishonesty. You can see these two, right? With their the Pinocchio nose shadows here. So how can we, how we're dishonest is with ourselves. So talking yourself out of your feelings, right? I've done this many times back in the day. You're feeling something, right? And then your mind comes in and why you're feeling that way, right? It makes up a story about why you're feeling that way, right? This is the ego. The ego will make up a story about why you're feeling that way. Oh, that wasn't real, right? Those feelings weren't real. That was a big illusion, you know? Oh, you're not really angry. You're not really angry at that person, and you just push it down, especially if that person's providing some kind of money support for you, right? It's the better the devil you know than the one you don't, you know, sort of thing. It's like to look at these things. This is what shadow work is, to look deeply at your patterns. Like, why am I talking, or even catching yourself, right? Why am I talking myself out of my feelings right now? Because your feelings are leading you to your destiny. This is what you can trust right now. You can't trust the mind. I'm going to tell you that right now. You cannot trust this mind right now. We're in a huge spiritual test, right? This mind is dismantling now. It's time to really trust your heart and your intuition, and that's what's leading you, you know? And our whole world is based on the herd, right? This is the herd, the collective, right? The collective is all about herd mentality, and herd mentality is all about security. You know, and the spiritual journey is not finding your security on the external or through outside authority. It's to find it within, right? To go within to your own self. That's what you have to rely on right now. And it takes courage, right? I'm not going to lie. It takes courage and to face these fears. So don't be talking yourself out of your feelings. Honor your feelings for once, right? I'm feeling angry. What does anger mean? Anger means somebody stepped over my boundaries. Anger means I'm betraying myself right now. Why am I up at night and I can't sleep? Well, your soul is trying to talk to you and tell you something, and you're not listening. Why am I attracting all this chaos in my life? Because I'm not listening to my soul, and the messages are getting louder and louder. It's the 2x4 method. That ego is getting pummeled by the 2x4 from the universe until you change. So why not just change? Just make the baby step. It's like, I'm just going to trust. We have to let go of these old ways of being now for the Aquarian age. So lying to yourself, right? Making up stories to yourself, right? This is not real. The spirituality is not real. It's all I see in my five senses, right? My five senses and physical reality. That's all there is. That's what reality is. This is lying to yourself. Lying to yourself that your spiritual journey doesn't matter, right? That's another one. Lying to yourself. Lying to yourself that the world's not changing. The world is definitely changing. We're seeing it. It's falling apart before our very eyes because we're falling apart inside, right? This inner cleansing that's happening and twisting reality. This is all ego games. And dishonesty is closing your heart. Just closing your heart. And then this fear of gender, right? This dishonesty. Why we're dishonest, right? With one another. So the gift, because every shadow has a gift, right? Is intimacy. This is the gift. So this is into me, you see. Intimacy. And I just want to remind people that Neptune is in the 36th. Look, we've got 3 activations, 3 major activations, because Saturn is there. That means that it's there for a while. And then 55 is the Earth. Not there for very long, but long enough to like trigger this mutation. And then the 36 is Neptune. Neptune's in there for quite a long time. This is the shadow of turbulence. This is all emotional. It's the emotional body starting to get squeezed, right? And this is all about being emotionally vulnerable, which is a requirement, for intimacy. So into me, you see. So it's showing yourself, letting go of this dishonesty. And that means just knowing, like, okay, I'm face to face, or I'm talking to the opposite gender on the phone. Be aware of your body. Oh, I'm feeling a little bit of fear. I'm feeling fear. Well, don't personalize it. That we all have to deal with this. This is the fear that's between the auras of the opposite gender. You just feel it. It's like, oh, there it is. I feel the fear. But you don't make up stories about it. You don't react to it, right? You just feel it, and it will start to transmute into this intimacy, right? So intimacy is not a doing. You don't need to do anything. You don't need a book to read or a course to take to learn about intimacy. It's not a doing. It's a revealing, right? So it's integrating all these layers of trauma from your childhood, because this is what these relationships bring up. They bring up these traumas from childhood, right? They bring up these traumas from your ancestors, right? And emotional work is just all about feeling. It's just frequency. That's all it is, these emotions. Emotions are healing. You know when emotions are healing? When your energy is moving. When your energy is moving, when your energy is in flow, because that's what emotions are, energy in motion. Stuck emotions is energy that's stuck there, that won't move, that's just there, right? So then you come across the pull, right, of the opposite gender, the one you're destined to be in relationship with, and that starts to release, right? That starts just by being in the aura of that person. That connected to that person energetically starts to move. That's the trauma that wants to move, because the universe wants us to heal, and we're healing through our relationships now, right? Our intimate relationships. So intimacy really starts with you. So it's a revealing of the trauma, right? And the city is transparency, where you become honest. This is who I am. There's nothing to hide. Love me or don't. Doesn't matter if you love me. It only matters if I love myself, right? So this is the opening of the heart. It's the opening of the heart, because these traumas close down your heart. That's what's closing your heart down, are these traumas, right? In order to open your heart up, you've got to integrate these traumas, which means to feel them. So it's just a frequency. Don't need to make up any stories about it. It's just to sit and breathe. I'll be doing this in my program too, right? With the ego program, all about, because it's going to be releasing emotions. This program is to feel it. You just feel it, right? You feel it, you let it move, and then it opens up your heart. That's the end game right now, is we're opening up our hearts. So the intimacy, the gift of intimacy, is longing to merge with another in unconditional love. That's what we really want. This is what we really want in our relationships. Maybe you can't articulate it, but this is why we come together. This is why we come together, is this merge with, and of course, if you haven't done your work, right, there's going to be conditional love. It's all conditions, right? Because as a child, right, your child self lived for unconditional love, was unconditional love, came into this world as unconditional love. And that's what you were seeking from your parents and your caregivers. And of course you didn't get it, because, our ancestors have been traumatized, because we don't know what love is on this planet. It's all conditions attached, terms of agreement, right? So of course we didn't get it, right? Especially in the Piscean age. But this gift of intimacy, this is when we get it. This is right. We've released all the traumas. We're giving ourselves, our inner child, that unconditional love. Of course, then you are unconditional love. The other person has done their work too. And of course, you're going to merge in unconditional love. These are the new sacred marriages. These are the new Aquarian relationships. And then you're no longer projecting with this gift of intimacy. So you're not projecting your stuff. You need to give. You don't love. If you love me, you would do this, right? All it is someone seeking unconditional love that they didn't get as a child. That's what all the projection is about. So no blaming, no complaining, right? When you're in this gift of intimacy. What else did I want to say here? Yeah. And just this beam, I just want to speak in this because we're in huge spiritual tests this year. Money and sex, money and relationships, second chakras, that's our temptation, right? So don't fall for the money trap, because this is the big ego trap right here. This is the ego's favorite one, right? Favorite one is money. And we're seeing people selling out left and right. And remember, this affects the collective too. The collective, because we're in the 59, you see the 59, and it's 0.5. That's leadership. So in terms of collective, we're going to see more and more of this shadow of dishonesty with our leaders, our so-called leaders of the matrix, right? That aren't real leaders, because they can be, their souls can be bought and sold for pieces of paper and coins, right? So you can imagine more dishonesty coming up. More like 2x4 over the head. Are you going to continue to follow these so-called leaders off the cliff that don't give a shit about you, right? Like how much honesty do we need, right? Thrown at us as a humanity to finally wake up. Like maybe these people don't have my best interests in mind, you know. But some people they'll go for it, right? So don't fall for the money trap, right? We're being spiritually tested right now. You want to follow your intuition and your heart and your strategy, right? In your strategy, and then the money will follow you. That's how it works. The money will follow you. This is the test. And that's when the rubber hits the road with spirituality, is when you're tested with money, when you got bills to pay, you got rent to pay, you got this and that, you got food to eat, you got to take care of yourself with money, to not go, because it's a trap. So some karmic relationship can be coming in and say, I'll take care of you, right? I'll pay your bills for you. And then, right? And it's like, oh, but, and then there'll be some rope attached. And the rope is usually, I get to control you, right? I get to control your every move. I get to treat you like crap and you're going to take it. It's not worth it. That's the money trap where you're enslaved, right? It's a big chain. So you want to be really in your intuition if somebody's offering you money or something free, because it's never free, right? It's never free. This is about making it on your own steam, right? Like really, really relying on the divine 100%. And the divine will test you on this, you know? Take away every cent you have. I've been there and had to trust, chose to trust. I chose to trust, and the divine always came through for me. Okay, so following your intuition and heart, and the money will follow, and have faith in the divine, not the promise of this false security. That's the false light, right? It's a big, big trap. Okay, so let's go into the human design types, and remember to watch my live stream on Tuesday, and I'll go even deeper with this pattern, because there's lots more to share. So there we've got 5 types. I'm going to get this here so people can see it. There we go. Oh, you can't see the reflector. Got to see the reflector. There we go. So these are there's actually 5 types, but there's the generator and the manifesting generator. They have the same kind of aura type, which is open and enveloping. So this is based on your human design type, and this will show you your strategy, how you're designed to move through time and space, right? We're not all the same, right? We're not all the same. This is the science of differentiation. This is about embracing and loving and accepting your uniqueness, right? How you're designed. This makes life a lot easier when you work with your strategy. So the generator, manifesting generators, those are 70% of the world, the open and enveloping aura. They're here to respond to life with yes or no from their navel. And when they're operating correctly, they're going to feel satisfied, fulfilled. When they're not operating correctly, they're trying to be something they're not, then they're going to feel frustrated, angry. And then there's the manifestors, that's 10% of the world, 9 to 10% of the world. They've got the closed and repelling auras, and they're here to initiate. They're here to initiate. They're not here to sit back and respond and oh no, I'm just going to be in the flow and wait for things to happen for me, or wait for somebody to come in and save me. They're like, no, they're here to make things happen, right? So you're here to initiate. So you receive divine guidance. Your intuition is saying, do this, start this, and you receive it. And then you go and you tell people, this is what I'm thinking of. This is what I'm going to be doing, right? This is what I'm going to be doing. And then you take one baby step forward, and then all the resistance falls away. And then that energy starts to move, and you manifest whatever that divine inspiration is. And if you're trying to pretend you're a generator or something else, then you're going to feel angry because you're going to meet resistance. That's where the anger comes from. You meet resistance from people, resistance from life. Create chaos around you, right? That's a manifestor not operating as a manifestor. When you're operating correctly, when you're taking initiation and forming, then you're going to feel peaceful. And that's what the manifestor wants, is to feel peaceful. So here are the start things, right? And then projector, I'm a projector, 2-4 emotional projector, focused and absorbing aura. So you can see our auras go straight into the G center of the other types. We're here to guide energy, guide the other types in terms of their patterns. They're the new leaders of the Aquarian age, or the projectors. And it's not of like, do what I say. Projectors are servant leaderships. We're here to serve the other types, right? I'll talk more about that. Yeah, so they need to be recognized for their gifts and talents. So really seen by the other types for what they're really good at. The projector is always really, really good at, well, many things, but systems especially, and the use of energy, the efficient use of energy. And when they're operating correctly, right, they're being recognized, they're invited, then they feel successful. That's your word, successful. And then when you're not, as a projector, you're feeling bitter, right? Why doesn't that person listen to me? Or why don't they take my guidance, right? It's because you're not waiting. You're not being recognized, and you're not being waiting for the right invitation. And then the reflectors are have the resistant and sampling energies, and they're the rarest of the rare. Projectors are around 20%. Reflectors are 1% of the population, and they're really here for the group, right? They're the barometer for the health of the group. And when they're operating correctly, they feel delighted. Their strategy is to follow the moon, right? So the new moon's really important for you, to reflectors, and to know and study the moon. That's what I would say. Right? If you're a reflector, like really get into the moon, because your ruler is the moon. So you're going to find you change. Every day you change because you're so aligned with the moon. Right? So the moon is in, let's say the moon is in Taurus. Well, then you're interested in your body and your health. You're interested in your finances. You're interested in the material. Right? Then the moon moves into Cancer, and it's like, oh, I'm super emotional. And I'm really into home and my family, right? You'll notice how much you've changed, but it's according to the moon. So learn the archetypes of the moon. And then when you're not operating as a reflector, trying to be a manifestor when you're a reflector, then you're going to feel disappointed. Oh, another disappointment. right? So you want it when you're operating correctly, you're surprised. Like, who am I today? I'm surprised by people. I'm surprised by life, right? As a reflector. Okay, so those are the types. And 412 already. That's crazy. Let's go to this one, to the chart. Mars just went into Gemini too, so that's going to change. It's all about communication. That's what I want to say. In this new moon too, it's in Gemini, and it's in the 20. That's about presence, not being superficial. So Mars is about our actions, right? So it's all in Gemini. It's all about communication. All about communication now. Okay. So Satnam, everybody. Cass and Chance. Oh, reflector, right on. Chance Liz is a reflector. Leo manifester, 3-5. Awesome. Massachusetts corruption. Vancouver Island, 3-5 emotional generator. Oh, Jen Goodwin's got the 59-6. You got the channel of mating. So it doesn't mean you're running out and having babies if you got the 59-6. But with this channel, Jen, you're able to break down the barriers of the other person. This would make you a really good therapist, right? In some kind of profession like that, because people will automatically trust you. They trust you anyway. They're going to tell you, they probably say, I can't believe I told you this. I wouldn't tell anybody else. It's because of this 59-6. Your barriers break down, right? You break down the barriers of other people. So you can create this intimacy really, really quickly with that channel. C.A. Patterson, Satnam, Teresa, M. Baines. I think you're in New Mexico, right? Or Chicago? No, you say no, I did Chicago. Tula Bean. And then Nikki is an MG. 1-3. Libra, Leo. Hari Das. Satnam Hari Das. And Paige, Satnam. Projector, yay, we got another projector. Manifesting generator, 6-2, Paige. Manifesting generator, Teresa. Generator, Massachusetts. Yeah. No one, I know. No one invites me, LOL. Joy Chan. Well, as a projector, you got to be orbiting too, you know? Sometimes we can wait a long time. I've been waiting a long time for an invitation, right? But you got to trust your aura. When the time is right, people will invite you. And listen, they're going to need the projectors pretty soon. When life starts falling apart, they're going to be looking for us, like unconsciously looking for we projectors. Like, what is going on in my life? And things that are very clear to a projector are not to other types. So you have to, it doesn't mean we're better, right? Like superior. We're not playing that game, but we're just different. We all have our cross to bear, right? According to our type. Yeah. M. Baines. Well, we also go through our Chiron, right? Our Chiron return. So that's like a transit. So it can influence, because it affects your natal chart. So it can influence your experience too. But makes sense as a 4-6 profile. Sagittarius, Pisces, Aries. Awesome. Okay. So let's get into the cards. So I brought my ego cards back. I tweaked them. I tweaked them up. Okay, where are we here? Okay. Why isn't that? Oh, I know why it's not showing up. It wouldn't be a live stream without some Technology glitches here. Okay. I want to start off with the generator. The generators. So the generator is just a reminder for people. It's your navel is your best friend. That's that right there. We can see that. Right? That's your sacral. So that speaks to you. Not your mind. Don't listen to that mind. That's the non-self in human design world. That's the ego. Right? The ego, the mind. So your sacral will let you know if it's correct for you or not. So just because we're in the realm of relationships with this 59, right? So you're responding to that person. Right? And that person can look really good on paper. This is the test. They got a good job. They're handsome. They're pretty, whatever. They're beautiful. They got all the material possessions, the nice car, the nice clothes, right? But if your sacral is saying no, he's not for me, she's not for me, that's what you got to listen to, right? And we all have to fight with this until we get really, really clear. And just commit. See what happens. Like, okay, Michael, that's way too big for me. Like, I haven't had a relationship to respond to for 10 years, right? It's like start with baby steps, like little steps, right? Just say, okay, today for 24 hours, I'm going to listen to my sacral. I'm going to obey my sacral. And see what happens in your life, right? Life will show you, because life will pound you if you're going on the wrong path now, but life will also reward you if you're going on the right path, like the repeating numbers, right? Or the synchronicities start to happen. And it's like all the little breadcrumbs that are letting you know you're doing something right. Keep doing what you're doing, you know? Yesterday, well, I see repeating numbers all the time. Yesterday was every time I looked at that clock, it was a 111, 222, 333, right? It was like, it was so bizarre. It's like, okay, I know, okay. I'm in the flow. You don't have to do it in overkill on this, but it was pretty amazing. I don't know why. I guess the change that I made was I just relaxed yesterday. I felt like I just want to relax and take it easy. Okay, so let's start with my ego cards here in the generator. Yeah. Yeah, 12's a big one for me too. Boy. 12. In the mirror, whenever you see and then even buying groceries too, it would be all repeating numbers. But when you see like a 1221, that's a mirror showing you there's a mirror. And trying to get your attention, the universe is trying to get your attention. It's like there's a reflection here for you to look at. And also what you're thinking about too with repeating numbers. I've got the 17 up there that comes off the ajna in my chart. That's all about repeating numbers. It's numbers. And what you're thinking about when you see those repeating numbers. Okay, so what are the generators? What's the ego saying to the generators? Do an ego card for the generators. Okay. And then I want to do another card. So generators, I just want you to meditate on or reflect on your parents' It's a good time for this new moon to reflect on how your parents interacted with each other and how they interacted with you. We'll see if the gene, where's another gene key here? If we need another gene key. Anything for the generator. Okay. And then this. Because the card you got was Love Blueprint. It's called Love Blueprint. And this is how our model for relationships get laid down, generators, is in our childhood. Those are our first relationship is with our mother and father. And then that sets the tone for our future relationships. So if you're dissatisfied, because you got the dissatisfaction shadow here in the gift of vitality with the 58. So dissatisfied, if you're dissatisfied in your relationships, to look back to your parents. Because the thing too, generators, is when our relationships won't shift until we shift. We have to shift inside first. Because we're mirrors. Our relationships are mirrors for us. So when you shift, the mirror has to shift. Your partner has to shift. Or if you're single and you've got no one to respond to, then start making shifts. Okay. Okay. So our love blueprint gets laid down by our parents and how they interact with us and with each other. So to look at your relationships and what you're dissatisfied with your relationships, like I don't like, and there'll always be an emotional charge with how your relationships are interacting with you, because they're stirring this up. Remember, this is all about releasing trauma. So surfacing trauma is coming so that you can go here, back to childhood, and the relationships are stirring this up. The emotional body's getting stirred up right now, right? It's getting squeezed, it's getting poked, so that energy, that stuck energy, can start moving for you, generators. So that's a good way to release, right? Release these stuck emotions, because often, well, most times, when these patterns get laid down in childhood, this is 0 to 7 years old. 0 to 7 years old, this gets laid down, these stuck emotions. When you release them, they come with a mental. So you release that energy, but then a belief system starts to disentangle too, because they're connected, right? Because you've got your emotions, that's the source of it, right? The 0 to 7 years old, whatever happened to you then, that's the trauma. And then the 7 to 14, because we go in 7-year cycles, and then the next 7-year cycle, that's when you create belief systems about it. So that trauma starts to release from something will happen in your life, right? Some experience when you're 7 to 14, and then you create a belief system about that, right? So let's use an example, generators. Let's say your parents neglected you. Right? Like neglected you, emotionally neglected you, like took care of your needs, changed your diaper and all that, and gave you food, but didn't neglect you emotionally, because children need that, right? They need that. Well, then and this was traumatizing for you as a child. Say you cried and cried and cried, and really you just wanted a hug, but Dr. Spock, remember that? Not Star Trek, but the doctor, the real doctor, Dr. Spock, was telling parents, well, let your baby cry. Just let your baby cry it out. That's abuse. That's emotional abuse. And parents were doing that, like just letting their children cry it out. Well, then you form a belief system about that from right? In that developmental stage of 7 to 14. Well, if I show emotions, nobody will listen to me. Nobody will nurture me. So I'm just going to stop. I'm not going to cry anymore, right? So you shut down your heart. Do you see how it happens? And then that's the belief system that comes with that, and follows you into adulthood, right? That belief system that if my needs won't be met, my emotional needs won't be met by my partner. So what do? You choose emotionally unavailable people. And then that trauma starts to come up. Do you see how the universe works? Because we want to heal, right? We want to heal, and this is why we're drawn to one another. Somebody that's starving, like starving. Their soul is starving. Their emotional body is starving for that nurturance. And then what are they attracted to? Somebody who can't give emotionally. You see all this all the time in relationships. And why? Why do we do that? That's crazy. But why wouldn't we just pick somebody that could emotionally nurture us? It's because that trauma has to release. And the only way the trauma can release is if we attract that relationship, in this case, that will bring up that trauma, so that you can feel it and you can give yourself that emotional nurturance that you weren't given to. So that's what I would say, generators, is look back to your parents, how your parents treated you, how your parents treated one another, right? Maybe your mother wasn't very emotionally nurturing with your father, and your father wasn't very emotionally nurturing with her, right? It's about looking, right? And looking is from this greater awareness. Get in the gap. This is the only way we can see, right? If we're in this state, you're not in the gap and you're in the ego and you're blaming and why won't he give what I want and I'm hurt and I'm triggered and reacting to the trigger. It's so boring, right? It's so boring. That drama, that kind of the karmic drama, is to get in the gap, and then you can start to see, generators, right? You can start to see these patterns, right? To look back at them like a scientist, a social scientist. I'm going to look back at, so I would grab out your journal. That's what this card is saying. Where one of the parents was dissatisfied too, this element of dissatisfaction. Yeah. And then the tarot card that you got is the Queen of Pentacles. Right there, the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Earth. The Queen takes care of herself, right? The Queen of Pentacles is like, I don't need anybody. I can take care of anybody, right? I can take care of myself. That's what it's saying to the generators, right? Right? Financially, I can take care of myself. This is like the single mom too, and I can take care of my dependents, no problem at all. But it's telling you to get self-reliant with your emotions here and get honest with yourself, right? Get honest with yourself. And maybe it's the honesty is, I have emotional needs. I would have never admitted that in a million years because of my childhood, but I'm admitting it now. I'm not going to stuff it down anymore. I have emotional needs, right? And then you'll attract that right partner, or your partner will start to shift when you express that to them. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so what else did I want to say about the generators? Response. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so let's go for the manifesting generators. And so the manifesting generators are here to respond to life as well. Okay, that was the thought. So with the generators, in terms of back to them, is when they're triggered, right? If they get triggered, because we get triggered in relationships. When you're triggered, you're not in your response. You're not in your strategy then. When you're triggered, you're in your mind, right? Because what happens with you generators here is, right, your emotions get triggered, and then immediately you're going into the mind. So you want to be in the gap, and that means I'm committing to be in my sacral. That person is triggering me, right? They're triggering these emotions in me. Let go of the messenger. That's just the messenger. Because when you're in reaction and trigger, you're in this. You're in the mind. You're totally in the mind. You're totally in the ego. When you're in response, you're here. You're in this greater awareness. And then you're responding. You got the gap here. I'm responding, right? I'm letting go of the messenger. It has nothing to do with my partner or this other person. I'm going to be responding now with my sacral. Right? With the yes or the no. With the yes or the no. It's getting solid in your core, right? That's what the Queen of Pentacles is telling you. It's to take care of yourself. You can handle this, right? And to look back. And it's like go into truth. The truth is this goes back to my childhood. And I'm just going to feel it. I'm going to give to myself what I wasn't given as a child. That's all your child self wants now. Okay, that's what I want to say for the generators. So when you're, same with manifesting generators, right? You want to be responding with your sacral, not reacting with your mind. Okay. So let's go for the manifesting generators. And so you're responding with the yes or no from your navel. And when you're operating correctly, you're feeling fulfilled, you're feeling satisfied, you're loving your work. And this is all about your relationships, manifesting generators. And the shadow of dishonesty and the gift of intimacy. And the city of transparency, right? Transparency is all about letting go of your not boundaries, but walls. Letting your walls come down. Trusting people again. Manifesting generators. And this is a good idea to build that trust with your partner and people around you, is to let them know more about your human design type, if you feel that's correct for you. To have a language. I notice the people in my life are very interested in this system, you know, when they invite me to talk about it, of course, not when they don't. Okay, so what do the manifesting generators need to hear about this gift of intimacy in their relationships? And to trust your aura, manifesting generators, that you'll attract. If you're not in a relationship now, you're going to attract a relationship that's perfect for you. Okay, what's the ego saying to the manifesting generators? Manifesting generators need to learn patience, right? They need to be patient with their process. And it gets stronger and stronger, right? They call it the experiment in human design. It takes 7 years to completely decondition, right? From, like, it goes to your cellular. That's what my readings are all about. These recorded readings, because it fast tracks this deconditioning process, right? Because it happens at the cellular level, right? This frequency that's pulling you away from your authenticity. This is what we have to let go of for the Aquarian age. Okay, the MG's got 2 cards here. So you got the conflict card, the ego. Ego loves conflict. And again, that's reaction. That's being in the mind. That's being in the non-self. And it's interesting too, everybody, because on the other side, remember, this makes a channel, the 59-6. If those were connected, this would be colored in, and the sacral would be colored in. Solar plexus would be colored in. So the 59 That's the new moon. But the 6 on the other end, because the channel always gives us more information, right, about how each one works. This is the channel of mating, right? And the 6 is the shadow of conflict. You got the conflict card. So you could be in conflict with yourself. And we're talking about the male-female gender with this shadow, the 59 of dishonesty. That you could be in conflict with yourself with your male and female energies. Because we have both energies inside of us, right? So those two could be in conflict. And a power struggle. Like your masculine energy taking over, dominating your feminine energy. You want to be in balance for the Aquarian age, right? So that would be using your head way too much, too action oriented, busy bee, right? That's, you're too out of balance, right? You're too much in your masculine. And then if you're too much in your feminine, then you become too passive, right? You're too passive. You won't take action when that's out of balance. You want a nice balance, right? The masculine energy's got to be inspired action. It's got to come from the feminine. So you got this conflict card, a power struggle. So a power struggle going on inside you. Just because it's the 59, I'm going to go with the male and the female energy. Right? One of them is out of balance. One of them is out of balance. So maybe if you're too in your masculine and it's like, I got to figure all this out and your action and I got to take action. I just can't sit around. I got to make something happen, right? Maybe you're not responding. You're trying to act like a manifester when you're a manifesting generator and nothing's working. Life will always show you, right? And how you're feeling too, right? Am I feeling fulfilled or am I feeling frustrated? Right? Am I feeling angry with how things are going, especially in terms of my relationships? Then something's off, right? Something is off. And the manifesting generator, it's like really embracing that feminine way too, because the feminine attracts, right? The feminine attracts to them. Yeah. And then you got the communication. Communication. So this is giving someone like the silent treatment, right? Or ghosting them. The ego will say that, right? What does the ego say about communication here? It's like, why? Because the ego distrusts other people, right? Don't communicate with others in any real depth. Don't share yourself, right? Don't share yourself. Don't tell them that. They can use that against you. They can use that as ammunition down the road. Don't tell them that. Right? Don't go deep. Keep everything surface. Yeah, keep it all hidden, right? Keep everything hidden from that other person. You know? Oh, get rid of them. They're challenging you. They're way too honest. What's up with them? You know, it's very suspicious. The ego is very, very suspicious. And this is about getting the ego will tell you to get your own way if you don't like what's going on. It's very passive-aggressive. This is passive-aggressive, excluding other people, giving them the silent treatment, right? Well, I'm just not going to talk to them anymore, and they'll learn their lesson, right? They'll learn their lesson and ghost them. So this is telling me it's about you communicating, being honest, right? And creating this gift of intimacy. Manifesting generators, if it's correct for you, right? Go to your navel for a response. Yeah. Especially if somebody's coming to talk to you. Maybe they want to break this silent treatment, manifesting generators, and they're contacting you. Then go to your navel. Don't go to the ego, who's going to tell you, nah, don't, just give them the silent treatment for another week, right? And get back at them for what they did. All these patterns go back to childhood, how we got attention. What did we do to get attention from our parents? We're going to do it in our relationships, our intimate relationships. All these patterns come up in our intimate relationships, right? So this is saying to communicate. Go to your sacral. Your sacral saying, yes, talk to them and be honest and open. right? Open and vulnerable. That's what Neptune is teaching us. It's time to be emotionally vulnerable. And you'll be shocked. I'm always shocked when I'm open and vulnerable with people because they respond to that. And then they too are open and vulnerable. We as light, I don't want to say light workers, like lighthouses. I like that word better. The lighthouses for the Aquarian age. If you're listening to this, you're a lighthouse. Is you have to be first. So don't listen to the ego that will tell you, well, they're not open with you. Why should you be open with them? They're not giving this to you. Well, you can't listen to the ego. It's like somebody has to go first. So it's usually the person that's more spiritually awake. And this is when you have nothing left. There's nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose here in this gift of intimacy, in this city of transparency. The only thing to lose is this ego. That's it, right? So to be honest, that's what it's saying, to be honest with people and to let go of this conflict inside you, to trust, right? To trust and communicate in your relationships. And then you got the strength card right there, the strength card. So this is courage. This is major arcana card. Courage, compassion, and perseverance. It's the lion. You see the angel, and she's got the lion here. This is making this thing right here your pet. Remember I talked about it? It's time to take leadership of this. He's not your leader. That ego, that voice in your head's not your leader, right? This is your leader right up here, right? Your greater awareness. And then you can see the ego's down there underneath the overlay. That's your pet. So this is what the strength is saying, right? That make the ego like tight leash. You're not the boss of me, right? God's the boss of me. The divine's the boss of me. And it's giving you the strength. And this is when you can be open. When you're in this space, I'm open. I've got nothing to lose. I'm open. I'm vulnerable. Right? I'm told I love myself. There's no need for me to be dishonest at all, right? I can be the model for that. It's the courage. This is what gives you the courage and confidence, right? This is the Leo card, the confidence. We're still in Leo. The confidence, right? Confide, be aligned with the divine, the power of the divine. Yeah. Right? This is what we've been conditioned, that it's a weakness to be vulnerable. And it's not true. Our vulnerability is actually our strength, our greatest strength. We haven't been taught that. So it's time to communicate. Mars is in Gemini, manifesting generators. It's time to communicate. Listen to that voice that's telling you it's time to communicate and to be honest with people. Not like holding, like not listening to the ego and keeping everything held back, right? Yeah, let go of this conflict that you've been in. Yeah, you're in a conflict with somebody. Remember, any conflict we have with people outside of ourselves is just a mirror reflection of the conflict that's going on inside each one of us. Okay. Let's go for the reflectors. The reflectors. 1% of the world are the reflectors. And they're here to follow the moon. They're here to follow, that's their strategy, is to follow the moon. The moon's in Virgo. It's a good time to be organizing things too, just with the archetype of Virgo. Getting in touch with your health routines, reflectors. Going into the details. Could bring up some healing abilities too for people. Virgo rules healing. It's the 6th house. Let's see what the ego is up for the reflectors. Let's see what's up for the reflectors. 1% of the world are the reflectors. Where's the reflectors? Okay, that was one. Wants to come out. Okay. So you got the Piscean for the ego card. You got the Piscean trance. The Piscean trance. And that's the Piscean age. Remember Neptune, this is the age that we're living or leaving the last 2,000 years. Ruled by Neptune. That's the Maya, right? Is the getting fixated. This is the trance, getting fixated, hypnotized by the external world, the physical world. And what does the ego say about the Piscean trance? It's commentary. The ego likes to have commentary. I like this, I don't like this. It's always resisting, right? It's always resisting the reality and what is. And it's creating a story about what you're seeing out in the world. Because the world is neutral. I know that's a tough one to swallow right now, but it is. It's neutral. It's just a reflection of what's going on in our unconscious as a humanity. Okay. Let's go with that. Okay, the world. Interesting. So we create a story about what we're seeing in the Piscean trance. And what the ego does. Where's the ego picture here? The ego reflectors has you just fixated on the surface of life, right? The surface of life. And when you're in the mind and the ego as your authority, you're not here. You're not here in that solar plexus. You're not there in the emotions. And this is felt perception. It doesn't matter if you've got a defined solar plexus or not. This is felt perception. This is not seeing life through your two eyes, right? That's the mental awareness system. The mind, the two eyes in the mind. It's experiencing life through the emotions, right? This solar plexus mutation. This is felt perception, visual perception, and then there's felt perception. And this is what we're moving into. It's feeling our way through life. It's feeling our way through life. And that means not looking at the details of your circumstances. Let's bring it back to relationships, right? Because this is the 59. So not getting caught up in the details of that person and their behavior and what they did to you and what they didn't do to you, is we have to go as reflectors, like felt perception. Like this is like going beyond the surface of things, going to the emotional content of what's happening in your life. So what does that mean? That means, say somebody didn't invite you somewhere, you know, there was a big birthday party with all your friends and you didn't get invited, right? You didn't get invited. And so the ego says, right? The ego starts the commentary, right? It's telling a story about what it's seeing, because that's just what you're seeing, right? That's just the details. You didn't get invited. Right, so the ego starts creating a story. You know, that person was out to get you, and I knew there was something up with them. Right, you shouldn't have been so vulnerable with them. You shouldn't have told them this about you, and now they're using it against you, right? Maybe you got arrested or something. Let's just go crazy here. You got arrested for something, and you let the person know, and then they started spreading rumors that you were in jail and you were a criminal, and now you're completely excluded, because that's what this excluded, right? Excluded. That's part of the shadow. Now you're excluded from this group of people, because reflectors is all about groups of people, right? So say that's happening. Don't get locked into the details. So that's the details, right? That's not where to go now. Now it's to go into a felt perception, and that's to go into what's the emotional content of this experience. Drop the story. Ego has no idea what's going on. We're healing. So you're attracting, right? We all have power. We're attracting these experiences to us so that we can heal, this emotional body, right? This emotional body has to be purified. So you go into the emotional content. That's what this card is saying. The emotional content. Okay, I'm dropping the story, Michael. And what am I feeling inside? Right? You didn't get invited to the party. Right? Then you go to the feeling. And it's like, oh, I'm angry. I feel anger. I feel anger. And then you sit with that. Well, what's underneath the anger? Well, I feel afraid. I got no friends now. What if something happens to me and I can't, right? And don't go into the story. You just feel the fear, the frequency of the fear. And then it's going to go to the grief. Oh, I feel heartache, right? I didn't get invited to a birthday party when I was a little tiny tot, right? And I felt rejected. My friends rejected me, right? That's where it's coming from. That's where these trapped emotions are. That's going to the emotional content of your experiences, reflectors. Go to the emotional content and don't get transfixed. That's the Piscean trance. It's like hypnotized by all the details. And that keeps you in your mind. And healing does not take place in the mind. It doesn't take place up there. It takes place right here in the emotional body, right? This is the tunnel we have to go through. Right? To spirit awareness. This is going to the causal point, right? We can't get to spirit awareness without going through this emotional body, right? So we got to walk through their reflectors. So something could happen in terms of your relationships and your reflectors. So it's going to be about the group, and maybe that the universe is saying this group isn't for you. It's bringing up healing and everything, but maybe it's also saying this group isn't for you. And it's making room for the real group. That group was like the group to bring up all these traumas. And now you'll attract the right group for you. You see how it can happen? It's making room for what's correct for you. And then you got the World card. That's like very powerful. It's the end. It's the end of a cycle. You see that? The angel hugging the world. Angels hugging the planet Earth there. And this is completion. It's celebration. It's accomplishment. It's the finishing of a cycle, right? It's the ending of some kind of cycle for you. And then starting new, because it's the new moon. And it's going to be around your relationships, reflectors. That's what I see. So stay with the emotional content. The emotional content of your experiences, not the physical content. It's the emotional content. Do you see how this solar plexus is really going to change how we relate to one another? It's a very exciting time to be alive. Okay. So let's go for the projectors right here. The projectors. 20% of the world are the projectors, and they need to be recognized, and then they need to be invited. So invite it to help, right? Invite it to help. Invitation, they're big invitations. They have to definitely wait for, 100% projectors have to wait for an invitation to a career, their career. They have to wait for an invitation to a place to live, their place to live. They don't go out looking for a place to live. They have to wait to be invited. And then they have to be invited to a relationship, really important. Romantic relationship, they need to wait to be invited. And also deep, deep friendship. They need that invitation. And remember, all the romantic relationships are all built on the foundation of friendship now for the Aquarian age. And you got to trust your aura. You're not getting the invite for a relationship, it means they're not for you. And it makes room. Every time you get rejected by someone as a projector, it means you're coming closer to the people that are right for you. Because you're designed to attract. Your aura is designed to attract the right people to you. Okay, so let's see for the projectors in this new moon. What's the ego telling the projectors for this new moon? What's the ego telling the projectors for this new moon? Okay. I have to wait for the jumper. There we go. They jump out of the deck. Okay. This is similar to the, let's do the other card. Similar to the reflector one. But different. So the cause and the effect. Let's talk about cause and effect. Which is karma. Cause and effect is karma. Let's see. See the other card. So projectors, this is about people in your life. And it's saying not to get focused on the effect. On the effect. Okay, we'll take these two cards, yeah. So the cause and the effect. So let's just simplify this for this shadow pattern. Okay. So 0 to 7 years old. Remember, we're evolving through the emotional body. So 0 to 7 years old, these emotional patterns get locked in. This whole shadow pattern, new moon of dishonesty, it originates here, the 0 to 7 year old cycle, developmental cycle. So it gets laid down there, right? And then you continue on with these 7-year cycles. But that trauma that gets seeded in that first 7 years is what attracts experiences to you, right? Your life experiences, so that you can release this. You can release this trauma, this trapped emotion that wants to move, right? And that's whatever experience you attract to you. That's the purpose of why this is happening, right? So the effect is the circumstances, right, of your experience, and the cause is these blocks in your emotional body. So cause and effect. So again, the ego is getting you focused and fixated on the effects, and then you're trying to fix, right? And then the ego is telling you that you got to fix that person per se. You got to fix and control that person, instead of going to the cause of, like, why is this happening? Especially if it's a pattern for you, projector, I would look at that, And again, this is about your relationships, right? Because it's the 59. So not to get focused on the effects, the behavior, the appearance, the details of the expression of the cause, which is this stuck emotional body that wants you to heal. Yeah. And it's also telling you to focus on, and I can talk like this with projectors because you're going to understand, is that it's like the movie screen, right? The movie screen is such a good metaphor for this, because we're all watching this movie, right? This is our life movie. We're watching this movie, basically. And so things are happening in our life. Things are coming and going. That's the phenomenal world. That's on the screen of life, right? That's the effects. But what's the cause? Because when you go see a movie, an action movie, maybe it's a cowboy movie and all the cowboys are on the screen and they're gathering up the cattle. They're not actually on the screen, are they? Right? If you go up to the screen, you're not gonna be able to pet a horse and jump in there with them, right? The cause is that projector back in the projector room. That's where it's all coming from. That's what this is saying. And when the projector's off, it's just a screen, isn't it? It's a blank screen. So this card is reminding you that there's a veil of illusion. And the veil of illusion is that projector, right? Projecting images on a screen. And to remember that really behind all that is just this blank screen, right? This blank screen that never changes, right? That never changes. That's always forever there, right? So the veil, what's being projected out on the screen, that's the veil of illusion, right? In the Piscean age. So not to get caught up in the effects, right? Whatever is being projected from that projector in your life, it's just this always know that behind all of that is this blank screen in terms of your relationships. Yeah. Not to get caught, don't get trapped. Right? That's a trap. Yeah. We've got a lot of relationship stuff here. So this is victimization. You got the 10 of Swords here. Right? The 10 of Swords. Typically, that's the guy he's on his stomach and he's got the 10 swords in his back. That's completion. It's endings. It's endings. Tens are always about an ending. Some kind of victimization, right? Where you're feeling victimized. And this is all the mind. Swords are all about the mind. This is the mental prison. The 8 of Swords is the mental prison. This is I'm done. I'm so tired of the mental prison, right? With my ego and my mind completely fixated on the effects and trying to control the effects of everything of life. The illusion. You're ready to let that go now. And look at that, you got the projector card. I think you got this last time too. This is the 6 of Wands, the 6 of Fire. This is victory. You see her with the wand? This is victory. It's success. That's your magic word. It's recognition, also your magic word. It's self-esteem. So to me, in terms of relationships, it's saying not to be fooled by what you see out there. Right? Don't be fooled by what you see out here, right? So if you're not attracting a relationship, I think a projector said that, right? That you've been waiting for an invitation for a long, long time. And maybe there's nothing on the screen. There's ditto, nothing going on in the screen in terms of the projection. You don't know what's going on, right? You have no idea what's going on beyond that. What you're seeing, the images on the screen. Don't get fooled by the veil, right? So it's just about trusting your aura. And trusting your invitation. The invitation will come. Don't get focused out there. Focused on the material world. It's an illusion. That's what this is saying. It's an illusion and it's key. And you're ending. It's like the reflector. You're ending a cycle of this victimization, right? Yeah, don't get caught up in the details and to trust your aura, to that you will you will attract that invitation to you. Yeah. And right? And you'll get that success. This is victory. This is going. Right? Nothing ever happens to me. I'm a projector. Nobody wants my help. Right? That's about to change big time as we come closer and closer to 2027. They'll be like hunting you down. The generators, the manifesting generators and manifestors, they're all going to be looking for you, projectors. Yeah. That's what I see there for the projectors. To trust your aura. And don't go into dishonesty. Dishonesty is trying to be in a type that you're not. Trying to be a manifester when you're a projector. Trying to be a generator when you're a projector. You know, I got to go make something happen. I got to respond with a yes or no. That was a response. It's like, no, you got to wait to be recognized and invited. Yeah. That's one of our biggest lessons as projectors is patience, right? Patience. Okay. And let's go to the last one, the manifestors. Making things happen. Making the things happen. So the manifestors are less than 10% of the world. Most of the types want to be manifestors. We've been conditioned to be manifestors, but that's not how our auras work, but that's how your aura works, manifestors. So it's listening to that divine inspiration, manifestors. And that means getting in the gap. You got to get in the gap as a manifestor. You got to have some quiet time. You know, whatever that looks like for you. It could be quiet time in your apartment or your house. It could be going out for a walk by yourself. That you just listen. That you're just listening in this thoughtless space. This is a place of thoughtless. This is the gap between the thoughts. This is who you really are. We get fooled because the ego attaches, right? It attaches to the thoughts, right? It attaches to the thoughts. There's no gap here. There's no gap here. So you need to do things that get you in the gap. Could be walking, exercising, meditation. Whatever you do that makes you feel like, oh, I'm not being victimized by my mind right now. I can really hear myself. I can really hear my intuition. And then you get your marching orders. You'll have a divine insight. Something will come to you. Your intuition will speak to you. Right? And then you go and you inform, you tell people, you share. And manifestors don't like to talk and share things about themselves. That's the dishonesty, that shadow of dishonesty. Because they feel like their freedom will be taken away. This is what the ego tells them. Well, if you share too much about yourself, they'll try to control you. Right? They'll try to control you. They'll take your freedom away. You'll be enslaved. You'll be trapped. The ego says. That's the shadow. It's not true. It's not true at all. And you'll notice that if you just try baby steps again. It's like, oh, it's too big. It's like baby steps, manifestors. Just try little things. You know, of course, and it has to come from divine. It can't be coming from the ego. Like you need to manifest $10 today. Right? Because you got to prove it to me, like that kind of thinking. You got to prove it to me that I have power. And it's like, no, it's got to come. It's got to come from above. The divine inspiration. And if it's something, because you can call that in too. It's like, I want some small thing to come through. A small thing. And then you'll find you'll manifest. You'll manifest. Okay, let's see what the ego is saying here for the manifestors. What the manifestors. Okay, we'll wait for a jump here. Okay. These two popped out. And it's all about procrastination. The manifestors are procrastinating. And that's where the sun is still in the 29. Get a video on if you want to watch that, manifestors. And this is the shadow of procrastination. It's the shadow of apathy, right? So apathy is, for a manifestor, is I want to be a generator. I want things to come to me, right? If it were meant to be, it would just come to me. That's what the ego is telling you. That's dishonesty. You're being dishonest with yourself and your type. You know in your heart as a manifestor, that doesn't work for you. You've got to initiate. So you're not waiting. The other types have to wait, but you don't wait. That's the thing we have to understand with the other types. I mean, part of me, it would be like, I would love to be a manifestor. I've got so many divine ideas and I have no fear about initiating things. I don't have that, right? My thing is waiting, waiting around, right? And so the manifestors, it's like, yeah, I'm not a manifestor, so I can imagine that maybe that's your challenge, is to initiate because you fear rejection. The fear of rejection. Projector is like, will I ever get the invitation, right? Will I ever get the invitation? Will I ever be successful? And then the fear of the manifestor is, will what I initiate, will that be rejected? That's your fear that you have to overcome. But if it's coming from the divine, it's going to manifest. You need to trust that 100%. It's about trusting the divine, not the other person or whatever you want to manifest. It's the divine you have to trust. Okay, and let's see we'll do a tarot too for you manifestors. So it's saying, and remember with procrastination, it's about avoiding challenge. We don't grow. We don't grow without challenge. We don't grow without getting uncomfortable. We don't grow without getting emotionally vulnerable, right? This is all about your relationships, manifestors, right? Intimacy. It starts with yourself. So getting intimate with yourself and how you work as a manifestor, getting intimate with your intuition, trusting your intuition, trusting the divine, trusting your heart. And it's going to bring up some traumas, for sure, when you start operating correctly. Because it goes so against our conditioning, our conditioned self, Oh, goodness. The manifestor's dealing with ego. That's no surprise. Right there. You see that? Ego. And there's the ego. Right? There's the angel. It puts you in that cage. The ego puts you in the cage as a manifestor. Right? And then look, you got the victim card. The victim card. So the ego's telling you you're a victim. Victims have no power, do they? The victim believes they've got no power whatsoever. So this is in the traditional deck. This is the devil card. The devil card in the traditional tarot. And this is about fear. Like, let's go there. It can be your fears, right? It can represent your fears. So fear of initiating, fear of initiating something, right? And fear of informing what you want. You're getting lots of divine guidance. You can't hide from it. The devil ego will make you hide from it by, indulging in addictions. This rules addictions. So, right, maybe having too many glasses of wine or something, trying to like avoid what you're hearing, that divine guidance, right? Avoid it. here. Don't communicate with the divine. Don't listen to the divine. I don't want to hear that. Or what was the other one? Lying to yourself, manifester. Twisting reality. Well, that I don't think I heard that right. This is what it really means. This is what the ego does. It twists things, manipulates things, and to serve its agenda, which is to keep you in that cage. That's you, manifester, in that cage. But the thing with the cage, I don't know if you can see that, but that little door is open, right? That bird can fly out. It can fly out if it wants to, but it believes that it's trapped. It's trapped. So this is illusion. So you're trapped in illusion, manifestors. You're trapped in some kind of codependent relationship with someone, and it's always material. It's this, right? Money. Could be money, or it's relationships, so it's probably with a person with money, right? That's promising something, or maybe it's a job too. It has to do with money in your relationships where you feel like you're dependent, you've been tricked, right? That ego is saying you got no power, that you got to stay with this situation, right? You're secure. The ego promises security, right? You'll be secure if you just stay in this situation or you stay in this relationship, right? But meanwhile, you've got this divine, right? The divine is like pounding you, right? To make a move. It's time to initiate. This is one of the sutras. When the pressure of time is on you, start, and the pressure will be off. And you'll notice that. I'm not a manifester, but I know this sutra. When I'm being pressured to do something, to act on something, like, with my work or something like that, all this in your head, back and forth, and listening to this ego and what if, and the back and forth and the back and forth, it makes it worse. But as soon as you make that baby step, it's just making that little tiny baby step forward. It's like, oh, I feel so much better. Like, why was I procrastinating on that for so long, right? But it's just the back and forth is avoiding the fear. There's some kind of fear, right? And the surfacing trauma is coming up. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably rejection. It's probably rejection as a manifester. You're feeling you don't want to get rejected. Whatever you want to initiate, you're afraid that it will get rejected. Right, and it's that feeling of like, oh, I don't want to feel that rejection, because it goes back here when you were rejected as a child, right? That's where the trauma is. That's all, right? And all it is a frequency. You just feel it, feel it, feel it. Stop listening to your mind. Stop listening to that ego. Go into the gap. Go into the gap and just like let it come. Whatever this fear is, let it come. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to feel it, and then I'm just going to release it. Let it move through me, right? And then you're not in the cage anymore. That's you flying away as a manifester. You're flying out of the cage, right? When you finally feel this fear that's been driving you. And then you come into your power. So yeah, the ego is telling you, right there, the ego is telling you that you're a victim and that you're trapped, and you're not. You're a manifester of all the types. You can get yourself out of that cage, right? It's like, yeah, it's just so easy. It's to claim your power. Don't let this hold you back, manifestors. Don't let this hold you back, right? This is all false to keep you in an illusion that you're trapped. You're not trapped. All you have to do is run through that emotional body and then manifest, initiate whatever you want. And if it's coming from the divine, it's going to manifest 100%. I haven't heard of any manifester that got a divine inspiration and it didn't manifest. I haven't heard it yet. Maybe there's a manifester that's happened to, but I haven't heard it yet. But this is all about materialism. right? So let go of that. Your true security is in yourself. The power is inside you. It's not outside of you. Nobody has power over you. So this is about you dealing with your fears, right? And the fear of relationships and the fear of this surfacing trauma that comes. We got to face our fears. As soon as we go on our soul purpose, we all have to face those fears, our deepest fears, so we can transcend them. And then they're not going to have power over you, right? This ego is no longer going to have power over you, right? That mind won't have power over you. Maybe you'll start to sleep at night, right? Maybe you'll let go of those addictions. Maybe you'll let go of these people that are not good for you in your life so that you can really fly into the new. That's what I see here. And start manifesting. Yay for our manifestors. And I know I'm cheering them on, the manifestors. They got to get going because they're the ones that start the balls rolling. And it's just about stopping and feeling. That's all it is. Like seriously, it's just stopping, breathing long and deep, and just feeling. And it starts to move. You have a big cry, right? A huge cry. And then as soon as you do that, where you launched, you're launched into this space. Your awareness starts to expand more and more and more and more until you get addicted. This is addicted to like things outside of you, people and drugs and alcohol, whatever, and your fears and your negative thinking. Start to get addicted to these breakthroughs, right? It's like, wow, another one. That means I'm going to grow even larger and larger and larger. My powers of manifestation get more and more powerful, you know? Okay. Okay. Joy just asked, because Joy's a projector, I know. It's not about doing nothing, right? When you're waiting as a projector, it's doing what you love to do, your passions, your study, right? Projectors love to study. They love to learn, right? They're perpetual students, right? You just do what you love to do. You just live your life, right? You're not, and then the invitation will come. Yeah. And being yourself. Right? Doing your inner work as a projector, which is going to involve self-esteem work. That inner child work is good to work on too, you know? Yeah. Okay. Shamid, you're a manifestor, right? Yeah, a 3-5 manifestor. Right on. So it's time to face your fears, manifestors. Get out of that cage. Don't let that ego drag you down. You're the only one that got the ego card this time for this new moon. Right? The manifestors are powerful. It's time to start to, like, you maybe have a bully in your life, right? Because that's how it works. But the real bully is inside you. And that real bully is that ego. That's your real bully. Soon as you stand up to that ego, like, no, you are my pet. I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm listening to the divine. As soon as you stand up in power to that, then you're not going to attract all the toxicity around you. You're not going to attract those bullies around you. That's just a reflection. Because you're not doing the inner work, then the universe is like, well, give it to her this way then, right? But it's all forcing you to go inside and face that ego and face that mind, right? Like, it's time to grab a backbone now, manifestors. Of all the types, you've got the power, right? You got the power to initiate. And the more powerful you are, the greater this comes at you. This ego will come at you. It will attack you, right? But you're much, much bigger than that ego. It's just showing you. It always shows me when I get a vicious attack from the ego, I always say, I'm onto something. That's how I look at it. I don't go belly up and like, poor me, I'm a victim. It's like, no, I'm onto something, right? And that ego is trying to keep me from power, my power. It's time to claim your power, manifestors, in this lifetime, right? And that means standing up, and then drawing that strength and confidence from the divine. Get that spiritual warrior, get your sword of truth out, your energetic sword of truth out, and chop that ego's head off, right? Like, I'm done with you. I'm done with you. I'm in service to the divine. I'm not in service to you. I'm in service to the divine. I'm in service to my higher purpose, my soul purpose. That's what I obey now, right? And claim that. And I tell you, things will start just rippling. Your life will start rippling. All that's false will start to just like fall away and dismantle. Everything built by this ego. And that you can get out of this, right? This is a false prison that's just been created by the ego and the mind, right? It's a false prison. It's not real, right? So it's time for this new moon to get honest with yourself about how powerful you are, right? And move forward and knowing that you can manifest. Okay. The manifestors got me all riled up. Yeah, because we need them. We need the manifestors moving. And I see all the manifestors on the chat. Right on. That's right. And if you want to inform on this channel. Inform on this channel. Here's how you do it. Go to the comments, right, below this video, manifestors, and say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And then you're sharing, you're informing with me and the other people on this channel. Okay? So do that and then initiate right after you share. It's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to move forward. I'm not going to procrastinate anymore, right? The time is on me. I'm going to act. And then come back and say, oh my God, I manifested. I manifested this. I manifested that. Okay? Yeah. Okay. So let's, it's my puppy time. So that's the new moon for the human design types. And just a reminder that, 50% off the readings, right? So if you haven't gotten yours yet, and if you haven't gotten your reading yet, you've ordered one, you haven't gotten it, it's been over 3 days, then you need to contact me and let me know and I'll send it off to you. And this fast tracks, the 7 years, this fast tracks less than 7 years when you give your body the right food, the right environment, how your brain works. You learn that, what you're supposed to see, how your aura type works, like much, much deeper with these videos, and then and the meditation, because the conditioning is at the cellular level that we have to let go of. So that's still 50% off for August. And then the Dilute the Ego is coming up, right? So that's September 11th to October 30th, and that's a 7-week live program. But I'll let people know more about that when I get the copy and everything. I'm just like getting the program kind of nailed down right now. Okay. So everybody have a great day, evening, wherever you are in the world. And come back on Tuesday for the Zodiac, the 12 signs of the Zodiac. And we'll go deeper into this shadow pattern because it's an important one, especially for our relationships. This is relationship time coming into the fall. Time to get with your soul tribe. Time to leave those karmas behind, the karmic relationships behind. I'm done with it. Thank you. Contract signed. Karma fulfilled. I'm ready to move on now to my soulmate, to my twin flame. That's where we're headed. Okay? So, so Satnam Aloha, everyone. I'll see you on Tuesday.